And we are live. Well, we're not. We're recording. We're live again. So you're obviously watching this on Twitch, but welcome back to another episode of Internet Oddities by me, your host of the day, Elon Musk. Yeah, I'm only joking. But yeah, this will probably be a bit more of a broader sort of discussion rather than like a sort of specific sort of thing. It's not really an internet oddity. What we're going to be talking about is, of course, family vlogging channels. It's difficult to really know where to even start because of the sheer volume of content to get through. So we're going to split it up into like sections effectively. First, we're going to just talk about like the broader issues that people have with family vlogging channels, and we'll go through some of the common issues that have been raised. Then we'll talk about a couple of channels in particular, see if we can see like any evidence of said concerns. We obviously are not going to get into every last thing about what these families have done because the two that we are going to talk about are very well documented and have a very extensive history of questionable things. You're going to hear me say questionable quite a lot, so just keep that in mind. Yeah, but basically, if you do want to follow this up, there's loads of evidence out there on the two families that we are going to talk about, so you can follow it up. But I do want to divulge that I don't hate family vlogging channels, although I am not obviously their target demographic. A lot of people do consume this content. It is mainly like younger people. But if you like to enjoy that content, that's fine. I do know older people that follow like mums and families and stuff, and it's kind of like a real wholesome sort of thing. And I get the appeal of it, I really do. And it's not the fans at all that are the issue. It's the content creators that exploit certain parts of that said appeal that are the issue. And also the lack of regulation is the issue, and obviously it's the children that are the concern. So basically, because they're the ones that have no say in this, and they arguably are the channels. But anyway, without further ado, let's just get into some of the general problems that I've heard, at least, getting thrown about here and there. But yeah, anyway. So a big one that I see and hear often is that the children are being exploited. So, quite an obvious one. The kids obviously have no say in this. They are literally the main focus of the channel, because it wouldn't be a family vlogging channel without the kids. It's just a couple. And it wouldn't actually be so bad if there were some regulations in place, like there is with a conventional child actor, but there's literally none. Did you know that actually in February 2015, the Department of Education updated their licensing legislation for child performances, but specified that it does not extend to user-generated content. For example, where young people or a family record themselves and share it on a website or social media. The current legislation states that children should not perform for more than 6 consecutive days. Children under 5 should not perform continuously for more than 2.5 hours a day. So that's like the law for a conventional actor, but the children of YouTube, who are filmed sometimes like daily, day and night, it's like daily vlogs, they are not protected. It's considered user-generated content, and literally no legislations or laws protect them whatsoever. If anything, they actually went out of their way to specify that they're totally excluded from the law, which, when I found that out, terrified me, to be honest. Because then there's also other things like that the children of YouTube take part in, like VidCon and signing with fans and events like that can last for 10 hours at a time and stuff like that. So I think it leaves a fairly glaring issue that literally needs no explanation. The fact that they've pointed out that user-generated content is not affected is terrifying. Legally, these family vlog channels are seen as nothing more than just people shooting harmless home videos. They obviously don't account for the millions of dollars made from said home videos and how that might impact the incentive of the parents to shoot said videos, and how sharing them with millions of people might affect things in general. So it leads me to my next point: the children's safety and well-being due to that environment. The parents know that the kids are the main attraction. Like, they look at the analytics and stuff. They know the demographic. They know who is watching. So what would become the first priority when the line between like business and family becomes so blurred? It would genuinely be silly to think that it would never be an issue and is not a concern. But at the moment, there is nothing officially trying to seek this answer. Nothing officially that's there to answer it. Like, nothing. We don't actually know. We don't know if these parents are exploiting the kids or if they are being horrible, because there's just no laws there at all. So the next big issue is that like kids on YouTube are not seen as like actors or stars, and there's no existing like literature for child stars. None of the existing literature for child stars is even considered. But this is something that has been well documented, actually as far back as 1885, when a little lady called Elsie Leslie, you might have heard of her, made a theatrical debut at age 6 and was an American star and household name debut at age 4 and basically a star at age 6. And there were all kinds of studies going on around that point, into like the psychological problems and developmental issues that can arise from such a disruption to a child at that age. But yeah, I was going to compile some studies for this episode and then, make it all like super scientific. But then I realised I'm not a psychologist, pediatrician, or even understand half of the stuff that I was reading. So I did decide to leave like a lot of that stuff out. But like genuinely, there is so much out there about like the psychology of how conventional child Hollywood actors, children, how they're affected. But it isn't applied to the kids on YouTube, which is, I mean, we all have seen what happens to some child stars when they grow up. There's been lots of stuff that's been documented for a long time, but yeah, none of that's considered. So, so in California, a child actor is actually only allowed to be on set for 2 hours, and only 20 minutes of it can be for filming, as well as laws restricting the age that children can perform at. So like under 6 months is like not allowed in some places. In some states, other states are a little more lenient. So funny little side note: casting agents absolutely love twins, and I found this like mind blowing. But if you ever watched the Adam Sandler film Big Daddy, the kid in that, there's actually 2 kids, and it's actually a pair of twins. So yeah, crazy. But generally speaking, there is huge efforts to safeguard kids in the entertainment industry. But some of those, but most of those, all of those, if not all of those safeguards don't extend to the kids on YouTube. And even then, those safeguards don't even always protect the children of Hollywood adequately. In a video called From Toddler to Trainwreck, a former child star called Alison Stoner, I think I'm pronouncing that right, recounts an audition at age 6 where she had to perform a kidnapping scene as well as some other really, really gross shit that no 6-year-old should even know about, really. Never mind pretending to do. And she goes into like the psychological trauma that it caused her. She went to another audition afterwards where she had to do a totally different role, and she goes into how that whole just process of auditions, and it's really, really messed the head up. So that video's on YouTube. It's called From Toddler to Trainwreck. If you're watching this on YouTube, links will be in the description for anything that I do reference. So have a look at those. And then the next point, the final, I think, point is like the issue around consent. A child simply can't consent to being filmed. They don't understand the implications of it. It's just as simple as that, right? In the eyes of the law, it's actually up to the parent to decide that. So it's a really big area when like YouTube videos and family vlogging channels are putting out like harmless home movies but are making millions and millions of dollars from it. Like, there's nothing there to stop the people in charge from making unhealthy choices for the child. Like I say, with conventional child stars, that's how it works. There is people there to make sure the parents are putting money away, making sure the parents are acting in the child's best interest, and all that kind of stuff that you'd expect. But again, I just have to reiterate, there's none of that. None of them regulations extend to user-generated content, as they call it. So I just really want to drive that point home. If anything, it's legislation that is the problem. So anyway, those are a few main issues that I feel I hear quite a lot. They definitely get brought up quite a lot, and these are, I guess, the core of some of the worries behind a couple of the channels we are now going to talk about that have effectively pushed the envelope a little bit too far and received public backlash as a result. So, the first family that we're going to look at, and this was really hard to actually pick a particular family. I could have been here talking about loads of different families for ages, because, sadly, there is more than one that are out here doing questionable things. But 8 Passengers, I think, might be up there with some of the more questionable ones that haven't at least received any retribution. There's another one called Daddy05 who actually had the kids taken off of them because of the levels they were taking their pranks, which we'll see a little clip of one of some of that a little bit later. And I have to warn you, it's really hard to watch. It's really hard to watch, knowing the context behind it and stuff, so just, yeah. But anyway, that's the first section out of the way, everybody. So, well done. Take a little break, if you want. Take a little breather. It's a pretty rough topic, I know. We don't want to overdo it, but for this segment, what I would like to do anyway is show you part of a video that I feel just gets the point across really, really well. This lady who I'm about to show you, the channel's called Smoky Glow. How could I forget Smoky Glow? So I've only recently found this channel, and I actually think that this lady is absolutely wonderful. So yeah, a quick back note about her: she's a social worker that has worked with kids professionally, from what I can gather. For context, the YouTube channel that we are talking about and in the video that's getting spoke about is a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers. This YouTube channel is comprised of a family. The main two, obviously, being the mum, called Ruby, and then the husband, who we're just going to call husband, because it's basically Ruby, the mum, that, like, is the centerpiece of it all. She's, like, the face, if you like, so she's the one that's caught all the flack. She's the one that seems to be making the decisions, so, yeah, and then they've got 6 kids. Hence, the 8 Passengers. But yeah, like I say, it's Ruby, the mum, that's like the leader. She's the person in charge. She's the one that's been vocal with choices. She's the one that's been basically got herself in hot water with the things that she said. And in this clip, it will go through a couple of the controversies, and the lady in the video will tell us why she feels it's wrong. So I try to keep my opinions largely out of videos, but I respect creators that go out here and do what she's about to do. So again, you know, like, just keep in mind that all this stuff that these channels are uploading are going to YouTube. They've gone through many checks, editing, and they've thought about it, and they've uploaded it with the sole intent of profit, like, effectively. So I think that's kind of interesting to just remember that, you know, this is all going on YouTube, man. Like, what? So these lot have got they're currently, as of recording, as you can see hopefully on the screen, they've got like nearly 2.4 million subscribers, which is just insane. That's obviously a picture of them. Whatever. A few of the kids are a little bit older, teenagers and what have you. So these lot are incredibly questionable. But right, so this is Smoky Glow. I don't know a real name. I'm really sorry about that. Let me just turn the mosaic off. The mosaic. That one. Right.
So they're still currently there. You can go watch them. You can go see for yourself. So 8 Passengers is a family vlogging channel. It is Ruby and her husband and then her children. They have close to 2.5 million subscribers on YouTube. So they're by no means a small channel that has just been flying under the radar. They have been flying under the radar, but I'm not sure how for so long they've gone completely unchecked, which I think is a big part of the problem, is that if you're not in that whole side of YouTube, if you're not in the family vlogging world, you probably have never never heard of most of these people. Ruby posted a video to her YouTube channel where her son basically said that he had not had a bedroom for the last 7 months, that they had moved into this new house and he had played a prank on his younger brother and also like hung him from a basketball hoop as like a joke, and then he had his bedroom, his entire room and bed set, and was sleeping on the floor and a beanbag chair in the living room for 7 months as a result of this. This was after they had sent him away for, I believe it was 10 weeks, to a wilderness training camp because he had been kicked out of school. All of this, by the way, information that I should not know. I should not know that this child was kicked out of school. I should not know that he was at a wilderness.
So, for anybody that doesn't know, those wilderness camp things, they are incredibly insane in themselves. Like, the kid got kidnapped in the middle of the night and shit. Like, he knew about it. They did know and agree, but they took him in the middle of the night. It were really crazy, and then he's got back and all this is happening.
Training camp to help learn different therapies. I should not know any of that, but I do because this mother doesn't respect her children's privacy. So it came out that he had been sleeping on the floor for 7 months with no bedding, and their excuse for that was, well, when he was at this wilderness camp, he was sleeping on the ground, so we figured that this would help him learn more by having him sleep on the ground for 7 months. So for almost a year, this young man has been sleeping on the ground with no bedroom because he played a prank on his brother. Maybe it's just because I had sisters. We played pranks on each other all the time. I cannot imagine being punished so severely for a prank. The bed, by the way, that she was able to buy for him in the first place because of his existence on her vlog channel. There's a lot more going on with her son too that I think you could, there's really whole videos on it, where the camp that they sent him to, there's actually no like official counselors at the camp. There's nobody being trained in mental health. It's kind of a survival camp, even though that's what they alluded to it being, was a camp that was supposed to help him mentally. And I will say, as somebody in the social work fields, there is definitely camps like that and programs like that. Living in the wilderness can absolutely be beneficial. I know there's a big push right now for kids, instead of going to like juvenile detention centers, to send them to these types of programs instead, because it kind of teaches you a lot of things and it's supposed to be very healing spiritually. However, after people have done a lot of research into this particular wilderness program, children have allegedly died at this particular program. And there's also, I cannot confirm this, I tried to find any information on it, but I can't confirm it, but it does appear that this particular camp that he was sent to is used as an LGBTQIA plus conversion camp. So if kids are expressing that they think they're gay, their parents might be sending them to this particular camp to change that. Okay, so that is kind of what's been floating around. I couldn't confirm that last part, but that wouldn't be incredibly out of the ordinary for a camp like that. So the camp itself seems to be a little bit sketchy, and also the fact that once he did get home after doing this whole thing, definitely cause for concern. Another big thing that was being brought up is the fact that their 5-year-old daughter, I believe at the time she was 5 years old, she went to school and forgot her lunch, and the mother, Ruby, decided to vlog how her daughter is, her 5-year-old daughter, is responsible for her own lunch and had making her own lunch in the morning and then bringing it to school, and that her teacher called and said she did not have a lunch, and the teacher asked Ruby to bring the lunch to her daughter, which happens. I've worked in schools. That happens all the time. Sometimes you forget your lunch, whatever, not a big deal. Ruby apparently thinks that is a big deal. I guess she expects her daughter to be perfect and never make mistakes at 5 years old, and she basically told the teacher that she would not be bringing her lunch, that it was her responsibility to bring her own lunch, and that as a result of her forgetting, she is going to have to go hungry for a day. The way she talks about this makes it seem like this happens pretty often, because she says she knows that her teacher is uncomfortable with her not being fed, as any teacher should be. She knows her teacher is uncomfortable with this, and she also talks about how it gets brought up at parent-teacher conferences because it is such a reoccurring issue. She kind of tried to play it off as like, my child wasn't fed for one day. That's not neglect. First of all, having worked in a school as a social worker, if we knew that a parent had the means to be providing their child with lunch every day, and we found out that they were purposefully not giving their child food because they forgot at 5 years old, that would absolutely be a red flag. Seeing online that you would be angry if somebody stepped in to feed your child lunch, that would be a red flag. That's disgusting. That's disgusting behavior. The reason feeding children food during school is so important is because if your child is not fed, if your child is hungry, they can't learn. They can't be in the headspace to learn. How are they supposed to focus on learning the alphabet when their stomach is rumbling? That's not an acceptable thing to do. And frankly, boasting about about it on your YouTube channel as making you seem like some sort of amazing superwoman parent for trying to hold your kids accountable at the age of 5, boasting about that when there are kids who legitimately can't even afford to have their own lunches brought in is pretty privileged in my opinion. Not feeding your 5-year-old child because she forgot her lunch at home disgusts me. Like, that literally makes me nauseous to think about. That's disgusting to do to a child. There's also an entire video which is titled, I believe it's titled like making new rules for the new house, where she starts off the video being like,
in order for me to be a better parent and the best version of me, I have to stop yelling at my kids. And I have to think about what makes me yell at my kids. And what makes me yell at my kids is repeating myself.
I think what's gross about this video, before I even tell you what happened, what's gross about this video is she presents it as parenting advice. And I sincerely hope that there is not a single parent who takes her advice on this situation. She basically says that in order for her to be a better parent, her kids need to be absolutely perfect, or she can't handle them as a parent and she will fail as a parent. So she is putting her ability to be a good parent onto her children. That's what she's saying in this clip. She basically goes through their van, they have a giant van, and she throws things away that she deems that the kids wouldn't want because they left it in the van, so obviously they wouldn't want it, and puts things that she thinks they will need into a separate bag. And then at dinner, this woman is like, okay guys, I have this bag right here full of your stuff. And initially the one kid is like, that's my homework. You have my homework in that bag. I need to turn that in tomorrow. Please give that back to me. And her response is, if you would like stuff out of this bag back that you left in the car after I told you not to leave it in the car, if you would like this back, you can either pay me money, so you can pay her, you can either pay me money, or you can do chores to get the stuff back. Now, I have to say, like, that's not the worst thing in the world to be like, hey, if you do a chore, you'll get this thing back. It's the same thing with parents who, like, take the kid's iPad and they're like, you'll get this back if you do your chores. Like, that's kind of like a parenting tactic, I feel like, that I've seen a lot of people do. What made me so pissed about this was the part where she said, you can financially pay me back to learn the value of $1. The only reason that those children have book bags or anything in the first place is because of the work they put into your YouTube channel. That is the only reason they have those things in the first place. You don't have a job besides YouTube. You don't have a job besides exploiting your children on the internet. They made the money to buy that bag in the first place. So why are they paying you to get it back? That was lunacy. I literally can't believe that. I am not a parent yet. So
Right, so you get what you get where she's coming from, right? Like, clearly these lot have been getting up to some insane stuff. So that's the lovely Smoky Glow, ladies and gents. Like I said, I just found a channel, so I don't know her name, but genuinely a great video expressing many of the things that obviously we've just spoke about. We didn't get to the part where she did mention a couple of other families as well, but she did reference the Ace family. We didn't quite get that far in the clip because I feel like that just pretty much got enough of that across. I don't want to attack you too much. But yeah, she mentions a few other families, and one of the families is the Ace family, which is what we're going to talk about next. And she basically references them because they effectively recorded the birth of their daughter and used that for YouTube content. But like I said, we'll get to that in a moment. But I think the problem here is evident, and that's just a sneak peek. There's literally hundreds of clips of the 8 passengers being questionable towards the kids for content. As of writing this, nothing is actually stopping them from doing it. They aren't breaking any laws, apparently. They've been called out big time, however, and I do feel that awareness is powerful in a situation like this, because community influence is what will spark a change. Like the rest of the world, it takes people in mass numbers to agree and fight against a common cause whilst putting differences aside to actually reach something. And I do think that there's an important moral in that sentiment somewhere, but I'll let you all figure that out, and I'm going to move on. So what we're going to talk about next is the Ace family, and you've probably never heard of them, and I'm going to apologise now for even introducing these people to you, because if there's going to be like a perfect example of exploitation of children and all the questionable things that that sort of brings up. The Ace family are going to be a perfect candidate. So these things are isolated incidents with the 8 passengers. Or the Ace family, sadly. There's plenty of other families that are doing this. But I've just picked 2 that are probably very well known. These lot have got 19 million subscribers, which is a lot of subs. Let me just show you some of the recent videos, because we're going to be talking about emotional manipulation a little bit. I don't know if you can see that there, but like they've got a video saying goodbye, crying, dad like waving, something I have to say, what really happened. There's such manipulative titles, and telling my dad I'm pregnant, and just, this is painful, with a thumbnail with the wife looking up, like in pain. They do all kinds of crazy stuff, clickbait and horrible tactics. And again, I have to reiterate, they have a fan base of kids. But anyway, the Ace family is comprised of failed basketballer Austin McBroom, who is the man, the husband of the situation, very prominent in the channel, and then the wife, Catherine McBroom, who is also very prominent in the channel. They seem to both equally share, I guess, the workload, or whatever you want to call it. Whereas in 8 passengers, it just seems to be more the mother that's kind of taking control. But with these, it's kind of both of them. They're kind of both as bad as each other, to be honest. And they have 3 lovely little girls, which are, of course, the centre point of the channel, and the only reason why they've got any success in the first place. They've recently been criticised for many reasons. I'll give you a few, but like I was just saying, they've been blatantly exploitative with things like having kids posing the thumbnails, like crying and stuff, and that's probably best exemplified in the fake breaking video. Yeah, these lot faked a break-in for YouTube content, and they made the 2-year-old daughter pose next to looking sad, next to a broken window. Internet sleuths, who we all know are probably the most sleuthiest sleuths of them all, dug deep and concluded that the break-in were fake. But either way, fake or not, the first thing that they did was film the content, film for content, which is just insane. They obviously, again, know that their audience is kids. You can see that. The analytics show that. They're incredibly manipulative with clickbait titles and thumbnails. Recent video saying goodbye in capitals. And, they do that all the time, which irks me somewhat rotten. It really rubs me the wrong way, that kind of stuff. I don't know, kids are really prone to click on that kind of stuff, which is why they're getting like 8 million views and stuff. Which I watched the video once, and apparently if they've got 8 million views on a video in a week and they've got premium ads on, that's probably like $3 million that they've made off of that. And most of those clicks are probably because they've clickbaited somebody into it. So yeah, crazy stuff. They also did like a fake charity event that got ripped apart. People did the maths and it didn't make sense. In short, there were a load of money missing that they'd obviously pocketed. It was supposed to be a charity event that they obviously profited from. They also, in that, I think, same event, said there was going to give some money away to a fan, ended up giving it away to one of his mates, just totally sideswiping all the fans that paid to like be at the event and stuff, which I just think is really shady. Austin McBroom as well, the man has been accused of cheating on his wife, which I don't know, whatever you want to feel how you want to feel about that. She obviously isn't too bothered, so whatever. But he's also been in an SA scandal. SA, the abbreviation for you know what. So he's also been involved in something like that revolves around that. I don't think he was the perpetrator, but he was definitely at least facilitated the environment where something like that happened. So I don't think that's pretty cool. He also gave his 1-year-old a very inappropriate shaped lolly from an adult store, if you know what I mean. vlogging it and YouTubing it and what have you. Just showing his total lack of awareness, if nothing else. The list goes on. They've been called out for their ego, being dishonest, disingenuous. He's ruined his neighbourhood because he jet skis in his pool and it causes mudslides. Seriously, it's unreal. Like, these lot have got 19 million subs and are doing nothing wrong apparently. So it's crazy. So that's the Ace family. That's another one. If you do feel like you want to check those out a little bit more, then they are heavily documented. So to kind of finish off this little presentation and summarise everything up a little bit, I would like to play a little video by somebody called Tiffany Ferguson about like family vlogging channels in general, and she effectively says pretty much everything that is necessary to wrap up this whole conversation, as well as add some other good points that I've purposely left out because of this video that we'll talk about afterwards. So we're going to watch her video. I'll add little bits and bats where needed. It's a really interesting video and a great analysis, and it does bring up some other points in more detail. So yeah, we'll have this next little video, and then we will have a little bit of a Q&A. So yeah, get your things locked in.
Hello, my dudes. My name is Tiffany. Welcome back to Internet Analysis. Today I'm going to continue to talk about family vlogging. If you didn't see the first part yet, it's called Family Vloggers
So we've basically done the
Ridiculous, and I
first
talk
part
about kind of the concept of family vlogging.
We've done the first part.
And the weird direction that some family vloggers or family channels have gone in, such as creating fake, scripted, set up kind of content, along with some other questionable topics for their videos. Today's video, I needed a second part entirely to discuss because it's very important. Today's video is about the dark side of family vlogging, which I believe to be all of the privacy issues. So at best, family vloggers are just aiming to create entertaining and family-friendly content. But at their worst, it could be argued that family vloggers exploit their children for money. So to begin with, I am not a parent, and I don't want to judge how people decide to raise their children and how they parent. But on the flip side, just because someone is a parent doesn't mean that they cannot make bad decisions. This is not a hate video. I'm simply raising some questions that I think need to be asked.
Likewise.
The concept of filming your family and your life on a daily basis is a very new phenomenon. This has only been happening in the last few years. This is the first generation of kids who will be growing up with, some of them from birth, their entire childhoods online for all to see. And that's why I think it is totally acceptable to question this. We do not know what the long-term impacts of daily family vlogging can be
and how
they affect the children themselves, the parents, the entire family dynamic. It's very complicated. So as I said, this video is mainly about privacy, including personal space, but also, of course, online safety, the difficulty of trying to protect personal private information. I'll touch on what I think would be the parents' perspective and the kids' perspectives, and of course the potential for creepiness in this realm. So starting out with parents. Obviously, parenting and deciding how you raise your children is a deeply personal affair, and I totally understand that as somebody who's not a parent. As much as I can understand, I understand. So one big challenge that I see a lot of family vloggers face is that they are opening themselves up to being judged, again, by strangers, sometimes millions of them, on how they are raising their kids. Every aspect of their household or their life or whatever their kids are up to can be under a microscope. If they film it, it can be judged. I can only imagine how difficult it is as a parent to get those kind of comments from strangers, again, who don't know your personal circumstances, to get that kind of judgment. It's one thing to get hate comments about yourself, but for people to be commenting on your parenting or your kids, that's hard. But the big appeal of family vlogging, I think, for most parents is the potential to work from home with your family. In their eyes, they get to be with their family all the time. And of course, when you compare that to the standard day job that a lot of parents have, or nights, it's nice to think that you'll be able to spend more time with your family. But the reality of daily vlogging is that almost every moment is work. That's the ironic situation here. Yes, you're free in the sense that you're home, but every moment you may need to grab your camera and film something. Then after spending an entire day filming, you spend your nights editing and uploading and promoting the video. The work never stops. And not even just that, it's no secret that vlogging, especially daily vlogging, can put huge strains on relationships.
A lot of these family vlogging channels do
when
daily
your family
vlogging
life,
as well,
your friends, and your home life
scary,
are all intertwined in your business, your vlogging. Those blurred lines can create a lot of stress and pressure. If there's ever any conflict or kind of negative things, sad things going on at home, it makes it hard to do your job. People may have to put on a brave face and pretend like nothing's wrong for the sake of the video, but then they're forcing themselves to live this lie. So let me be honest, I am sympathetic for the parents, but my main concern are the children. I think it is possible for parents to kind of get lost in the numbers and the money of it all and lose sight of what their initial goals were. Especially when you're talking about these families who are making enough money to support the entire family just through vlogging. That becomes your livelihood. Your life and your job become one. And people do some crazy things when it comes to money. For example, there is one infamous family vlogger. The channel was called Daddy of Five, where basically these parents had pranks that were really them psychologically and verbally abusing their children, specifically their son Cody.
I didn't do that!
What the hell is that?
I didn't do that!
You tell me what you did!
I swear to God, I didn't do that!
And they ended up losing custody of their kids. Back when all of this happened, Philip DeFranco and a lot of other creators made videos about it, so I'll put those in the description. And you may think, oh, they were clearly doing something wrong. Their intentions were bad. That's not what these other family vloggers are doing. But those parents would argue that their intentions weren't bad, even though it's very clear to us watching that what they were doing with their kids, the trauma that they were inflicting on them to get clicks, is so obviously wrong.
Was anybody traumatized?
No! Well, I don't even know what that word means, but yes, no. I was, Mom. I was.
No, I wasn't.
Obviously, a lot of vlogger parents would say that they only have good intentions, but how far will they go to get clicks? What limits do they push to earn more money? Continuing on, so what about the issue of the children's privacy? What is it like to have fan pages dedicated to your children? To have millions of people recognize your kids? In the more traditional celebrity world, a lot of famous people try to shield their children away from the spotlight, but family vloggers are obviously doing the opposite. I'm a bit conflicted because I do follow a few mom accounts on Instagram and I love their kids and I am glad that they're sharing them. But I do follow some moms as well who choose not to show their kids, such as Jenny Mullen. She's one of my favorite comedians and authors. She always puts a little sticker over her kids' faces, or she'll just never take a picture unless it's the back of their head or something. And again, it's a very personal choice to decide whether or not to show your kids. But I think there's a big difference in showing your kids occasionally and having your kids be the star of your content. I sincerely do worry about these kids and what kind of stress they're under, just knowing that they can't have a day at home where they can sulk or be alone. Or if they are happy, maybe they just want to experience that without a camera in their face. We don't know how each of these kids will react. Even within a family, all of the siblings can have different reactions to this. You may have these little kids who like to be on camera when they're younger, but as they grow up, they may not want to be on camera anymore for a variety of reasons. The thing is, toddlers or young kids or even older kids, they can't truly fathom the amount of people who are watching them, who know them.
Look at that,
until a certain age, you cannot comprehend that. They may say, oh, it's cool to get views or comments or likes, but I don't think that they can really understand. And by the time that they are old enough to understand, they may completely resent that. A lot of these kids probably just think it's fun to make a video with mom and dad. They're not thinking we're creating content for strangers. Yeah, so this is the part of the video that I am dreading talking about the most because I think it's the worst. And that is the threat and risk of exposing your children to predators. Obviously, these parents are making this content innocently. And you'd think that the average viewer like you or me is watching it innocently. Oh, these are kids swimming or playing or whatever. We're not going to sexualize that, but we know that the reality is there are pedophiles out there. So when I see a swimming video with 40 million views, I don't even want to estimate how many of those views come from people who are not looking at these children in an innocent way. It's sickening. It's horrible to talk about. It makes me uncomfortable to even imagine it. But I cannot imagine as a parent putting my children out there and exposing them to that audience. Obviously, YouTube analytics can't tell you if there are any creeps watching your videos, but I think you can look at demographics and other analytics and kind of see where portions of your audience are. I read about one mom vlogger who decided to take her kids off the internet after looking at her analytics and realizing that a lot of her videos were being embedded on basically the websites of pedophiles. They were collecting these videos and sharing them. Her videos were ending up on predatory playlists. She turned embedding off, videoing your kids and her male audience went from
sharing it to a private Facebook or whatever, with your friends and family, in comparison to sharing it for entertainment purposes, sort of thing. I would as well.
See if that seems to be a similar trend across the board, but even just the risk of that being a potential issue is just
because one of the things now, is again, on a lot of these family channels, the comments are disabled because one really, really bad thing that used to happen with any content with kids in, weirdos used to timestamp moments like in the video where people, the kids were basically in suggestive positions and stuff, and there'd be literally hundreds of comments of people just with a timestamp, and it super creepy. Super creepy.
But if you think about the number of family vloggers and channels who are okay with showing their kids, swimming, sure, that may seem like an innocent activity.
But it's
even in the back. But not showing any nudity. These channels don't have any bad intent, obviously, but you can't be so naive to think that every one of your viewers is watching this innocently. Alright, that's the end of that. I can't discuss this topic anymore, but that's like the biggest threat in my mind. Let me take a little tea break and then we'll get back.
Right. So that's basically what I wanted to show you from that anyway. I think that pretty much got the point across. It's very questionable because you just don't even know who's watching it as well. So there's a lot that's to be considered, I think. So anyway, I think it is clear what needs to happen, and I think that what needs to happen probably has to come from the top. There is no other way to say it. Things need to just catch up, and I think the more people know about this, sort of the better, because there is always power in numbers, and something does need to change, because like we said at the start, it's the kids that we're worried about here, and it's the kids that are ultimately suffering in all this, and it is not right. But anyway, thank you for watching. I do hope you found this somewhat informative, somewhat enlightening. I'm sorry about the morbid nature of the topic, but I do feel like it's better talking about it than just hiding away from it and acting like this stuff doesn't exist, because it does. It's out there. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts, possibly in the comment section. If you are live with us now, then possibly with us now live. But that's going to be the end of the video. Welcome to our secret little club. If you made it all the way to the end, then shout out to yourself. We don't tell the meanies that leave halfway through the video about our little club. This is just the end of the video gang. So welcome if you are with us now. That's going to be the end of recording. Come and join us on Twitch if you want to hear my thoughts on things like this. We do Q&As afterwards, so yeah, we're live on Twitch right now, as you can probably see. But yeah, come and join us on Twitch if you want to hear some thoughts. But leave your thoughts in the comments. I literally do read and reply to pretty much all of the comments. And yeah, if you have made it this far, genuinely thank you so much for joining us on this somewhat of an adventure. But that's going to be the end of the video, so peace.